Welcome, welcome to Sergeant Dorsey Speaks live at 5 p.m. on Pacific, 8 p.m. East Coast. Welcome, welcome every Thursday. Oh, Jesus. I got to pace myself, you guys. I got a lot to talk about tonight. And so, welcome. Hey, K Rose, what's up? You're the first one through the door. So you get an honorable mention. Ron Smith, Janine Faircloth. What's going on? I appreciate you, eager beavers. I barely got my little broadcast going, and you guys were right there with me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to be sharing this on my two other Facebook pages that I have. For those of you that don't know, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks is one of my public pages on Facebook, and my other um, public page, in case you want to follow all of what I'm saying because you don't want to miss a moment, right? My other public page is Cheryl Dorsey, retired LAPD sergeant. So you can follow me on either page and you'll be able to see my weekly broadcasts here on Facebook. And for the lucky ones, you get to see it real time here on my personal page. Aren't you special? So I got a lot to talk about. I'm just going to really, try to take my time, go slow. Bear with me. I've already had my dinner because I intend to spend, quality time with you tonight. I'm not going to rush through this. I hope you guys are at least, able to grab a snack or two as you join me. And hey, Damien. Hey, Kevin. Um, yeah, yeah. Grab a snack. Grab a beverage. I need you fortified and hydrated. Lots to talk about tonight. Let me first do this. Let me say welcome to those of you who are here for the first time. I'm a retired Los Angeles Police Department sergeant, 20-year veteran, and spent all 20 years in patrol. And so I come to you week to week just to talk a little bit about what's going on locally, nationally, sometimes internationally with regards to police occurrences. I just share with you because I'm a reporter of fact. I share with you what's going on, and then I offer my opinion about what I think maybe the officer could have done better in some instances, and what the community member could have done better in some instances. Because listen, at the end of the day, the goal is for everyone to survive that police encounter. Everyone needs to go home safely, and so that's really, what I'm all about. So, welcome, welcome. For those of you who, again, are new, follow me on Instagram and Twitter. My handle is SGT Cheryl Dorsey on Instagram and Twitter. I have a YouTube channel in addition to Facebook, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. Be sure to subscribe, follow me there. Also, I have a podcast that drops every Tuesday, new and different content from what you will be getting on my video, unless I think it's really important and I need to say it here, there, and everywhere. I'll repeat my stories. Sergeant Dorsey Speaks, wherever you get your podcasts. So be sure to follow, subscribe, like, hashtag, tell a friend. I need you to help me on a campaign that I've been talking about, which is I'm trying to increase my subscribers on YouTube. So everybody who has not on Facebook, I know you guys are kind of, set in your ways. Could you just hook a sister up and go on over there to YouTube and create an account and subscribe to Sergeant Dorsey Speaks so that I can reach the goal that I'm trying to attain? Because listen, opportunities come based on numbers, you guys. It's a whole new situation out there. And, I know that my subbies appreciate me, and I appreciate you because you guys tell me all the time, oh my God, thank you. I'm learning so much by listening to you. And so I want to reach as many people as I can right here in this little corner of the world that I operate out of, believing that this is going to lead me to other bigger platforms, if you will. But folks always want to know how many followers you got, how many subscribers you got, how many people are liking your stuff. Because truthfully, at the end of the day, if nobody's listening, then why do they care, right? So let them know you're listening, let them know you're watching, subscribe, follow, like, whatever the button says do on YouTube, be sure to do that. So, hey, Tonia, welcome, welcome. So, oh, thank you, Jason. I love you too in Vegas. Thank you. I appreciate that. So anyway, so that's that. Um, the other thing that I do as I come to you week to week for my newcomers is I offer an insider's perspective based on my 20 years, and I pull the covers back and I talk a lot about police policy, police training, police culture, because if you understand police culture, it might help you better understand why a thing is occurring and what you can do if you find yourself similarly situated, so that you don't wind up making your family the next millionaire in your town because you're not here, right? Because you're gone. So that's what I do. That's why I do it. Also, I have a Cash app. So for those of you who appreciate what I do, treat me like that Popeyes chicken sandwich. It don't take much to make me happy. Sergeant Dorsey Speaks is my Cash app. Slide on over and yeah, say thank you. I'd appreciate that. Also, wanted to say couple of shout outs, if you will, to some of my new subbies on YouTube. I appreciate you guys. And I appreciate all of you who not only comment on my videos on YouTube, but also who go the extra mile and figure out how to find me on my email account, which is Sergeant Dorsey Speaks at Gmail. And, we chop it up there and go back and forth, have a lot of dialogue about things that are occurring, things that I'm talking about on my video, and just things that you have a question about. And so I'm going to be doing a little bit of that today because someone shared a video with me of a recent shooting and they wanted to know what I thought. So I'm going to tell you. I appreciate you. Welcome, welcome to Miss or MS, the Dirty South, Timothy Booker, Levi 1068, B. Austin, Mark Burke, Christian Davis, and George Bradford. And just to kind of, let you know how well things are going in the last month, because of you guys, I received 2,696 posts on my videos on YouTube, and you guys were sharing my videos on YouTube to the tune of 1,297 shares. So I appreciate all of that. And evidently, 6,653 of you really, really liked my videos last month. So I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. And please, please don't stop. On Facebook, I want to welcome and thank those new followers and folks who have liked some of what we do on Facebook. Patrice Miles, Bobby Avery, Sheila P., Sarah Emily, and Haley. Thank you. Thank you. Now, first things first. Oh, before I do that, let me just say this. What do you guys think about my look today? I'm always excited when I leave my stylist, Ursula Simpson. And so let me just start off with a thank you to my girl Ursula over at Head Trip in Pasadena. She is my newest ad sponsor on my podcast, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. So if you want to know more about Ursula Simpson at the Head Trip Salon in Pasadena, you can hear all about her on my podcast where she advertises. And so this is the look of the month. I'm kind of channeling with this big hair. I don't know. I feel like Shaka Khan, Diana Ross, and then I got a little Dr. Cornel West going with my little neck collar. So I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. Thank you, Ursula. I appreciate you. Now, first things first, before I get into the stories that I want to share with you, I want to talk a little bit about something that's going to happen on November the 20th if we don't do something about it. And that is in the state of Texas, there is a scheduled execution, and there is a petition going around right now that I'm going to share with you. And you can sign this petition because it's been reported that there is new evidence that exonerates this gentleman. And if he is not given a stay of execution on November 20th. They are scheduled to execute what's been referred to as an innocent man for a rape and a murder that he didn't commit. It says that there are mountains of evidence that will exonerate Rodney Reed. So if you have not heard about what is about to occur in the state of Texas on November 20th, let me share with you this link right now. And subbies, I will share it with you in the description box as well on YouTube, so that you'll have an opportunity to see the petition and hopefully sign it, and tell everybody that you know to sign this petition so that Rodney Reed can get this new trial. It says that, and listen, this is Texas, so we're talking about Governor Greg Abbott. I'm not encouraged, family, but I don't even want to put that bad energy out there. I'm gonna just say, let's be prayerful, and let's all stand in agreement. It says that all of the evidence was kept from an all-white jury that convicted Rodney Reed instead of the evidence that implicates the victim's fiance in this particular case. Local police officer Jimmy Fennell, who has a history of violence against women, including being convicted for kidnapping and sexual assault soon after Rodney was wrongly sent to prison. Jimmy Fennell, police officer there, was the fiance that they say this evidence implicates him actually in the death and the rape of this victim. So Greg Abbott has stopped his execution once before, and if there's enough being said and enough attention drawn to it, maybe he might give him another stay of execution and ultimately a new trial. So that's that. Also, you guys have heard me talk about this. I'm kind of involved in this whole menthol ban thing that is going around the nation, that some of you who may smoke Newports and Salems and Benson and Hedges and other menthol cigarettes don't know. But there are cities and states that are actually banning or criminalizing the use of menthol tobacco. Now, you'll hear it talked about in terms of vaping as well. It's not the vaping that bothers me. I think that children should absolutely be kept from vaping products, but I'm opposed to criminalizing menthol cigarettes, particularly when you don't criminalize all cigarettes, right? Because who smokes menthol cigarettes? People that look like me and you and brown folks. 80% of Black and brown folks, I believe is the number, smoke Newports and Salems and Cool cigarettes. And so to criminalize it, I think would be a problem, because it just gives officers another reason for a contextual traffic stop, another reason to engage you. And what millennial is going to believe that a police officer pulled them over because they saw them sucking on a menthol Newport cigarette? They won't. They'll be enraged. And then what happens after that. So I've been speaking out along with some others who are heavy hitters in their own right with regards to this information. And so I'll be doing that again on Monday, Veterans Day. This Monday, November 11th, 7 p.m. I'll be at the City of Refuge Church in Gardena, California, Bishop Noel Jones. There's going to be a panel discussion, and it's called Smoking While Black and Brown, One Flavor Does Not Fit All. So that's this Monday, November 11th, 7 p.m., City of Refuge Church. And for those of you who are here locally and you have an interest and just want to know what's going on, and don't you want to know what's going on, and more importantly, what you can do about it, because LA City Council is going to be meeting on this very issue soon to decide whether or not they want to ban it in the city of Los Angeles. So I believe that there may be a councilman there. In addition to myself and some others, we'll be discussing. There'll be opportunity for a Q&A, but more importantly, you get to see me. So come on down to the City of Refuge on Monday, 7 p.m. I'll share this. I'll remind you again, maybe Sunday night. Just make sure that those who may have an interest and who may not have an opportunity to see this video, is aware of what's going on Monday, right? Because most of you guys will have the day off, so there's really no reason not to come. Anyway, that's that. Now, for those of you who haven't already subscribed to my podcast, let me just tell you what you missed, just really quick. I talked about a mass shooting that we had here in Long Beach a few days before Halloween, and then a couple of days after that, there was another one up in Northern California. So we've actually had two mass shootings here in California, one in Southern, one in Northern. You probably didn't hear about it. And I don't want to say that you didn't hear about it because of the folks that were involved, because I'm not really sure who was involved in the Orinda, California mass shooting, but 5 people lost their lives at an Airbnb Halloween party that was not supposed to be given, by the way, in this Airbnb. So whoever it was that rented that house, I would imagine they are facing all kind of legal jeopardy, because it's reported that the owner of the house was watching from his Ring camera, right? And he's seeing all these people come to the house, and then folks were calling him and saying, hey, there's a party going on. So he called the renter, even though he had told her, you can't have no parties here. And whoever she is, she lied and said, oh, no, it's just a couple of friends. I got like 12 people here. Well, it's never a problem until it's a problem. And so something happened, and there was a shooting, and 5 people lost their life. More than that were actually shot. So that was one of the stories that you missed if you didn't check out Sergeant Dorsey Speaks podcast. So you don't want to miss a thing, right? So make sure you subscribe. And then also, I talked a little bit about an incident in Florida, because every week there's something going on crazy in the state of Florida with law enforcement. And so there was a guard at a women's institution. It's reportedly the largest institution in Florida. And I talked about a female inmate who was paralyzed from the neck down by this corrections officer, who has been involved in a plethora of wrongdoings, if you will, over a significant period of time. I think it was about 10 years. And during these 10 years, he was even promoted to lieutenant. Well, it wasn't until he paralyzed this woman, because listen, he was involved in all kinds of shenanigans before he paralyzed this female inmate. And so now, because he's paralyzed this female inmate, they're looking to get her released because her injuries are so significant they can't care for her in the prison hospital, or the prison jail ward, hospital ward, or whatever. And there is a representative there in Florida who's actively involved in advocacy and prison reform in the state of Florida. So if you listen to the podcast, you will get the information relative to this Florida state rep and the efforts that she's trying to get involved in there. And also it's a call to action. So you need to let her know as well, particularly those of you who live in Florida, and anybody who may have family in this correction institution in Florida. And you know what I'm talking about if you're there. Largest female institution, I believe it's called the Lowell Correctional Institution in Florida. So information about that is also on my podcast. And then one last story that you might have missed, and this was regarding the Phoenix Police Chief Jerry Williams. She found a little low-hanging fruit, like Dallas Police Chief Renee Hall. And so she fired a couple of officers over there for something, in my mind, that was very insignificant. But, maybe it might make some folks happy. So that's what you missed if you're not subscribing. Now, let's get to it. NYPD Commissioner James O'Neill, he resigned on Monday. There was a vote of no confidence taken against him months ago now, when he fired Pantaleo, right? Daniel Pantaleo, the officer that choked Eric Garner. And then, Pat Lynch, president of the Patrolman Benevolent Association, AKA the Mouth, is what I call him. They were just raising hell in New York and have continued to do that. And so I guess, I don't know if de Blasio had a fireside chat with Commissioner O'Neill or what, because he serves at the pleasure of the mayor. So I don't know if de Blasio pulled him to the side and told him he needed to find a new church home, but he resigned on Monday. And so don't know who they're going to get. But hey, Barry, what's up? Don't know who they're going to get to replace him. But yeah. And I guess it really don't much matter who they get over there because New York is a different kind of animal and they just do what the heck they want. So, yeah, I'll keep you posted as foolishness continues to occur. Now, this is at the request of one of my subbies who had asked me about Joshua Brown. They said, it's been real quiet. What's going on with Joshua Brown? Remember, Joshua Brown is the young man who testified at the Amber Geiger trial and then was killed a few days later. So here's what's going on because, I had kind of said this, I think, to you guys a few days after that whole thing happened when he was murdered, is that it won't be long before people will change channels and nobody will be talking about Joshua or a Tatiana for that matter. We'll move on until, something else outrageous happens that gets our attention and holds it for a whole 48-hour cycle. And then we move on again. And so then, it just continues to repeat itself. So here's what's going on with that whole Joshua Brown situation, because listen, I guess they buried him. I understand that, he's in Texas, I'm in California. Maybe it might not make news, but I don't know. Did any of you in Texas, did you guys even go? Do you know, was Lee talking about it? Lee Merritt, the attorney that represents the family. I'm just saying, was Reverend Al there? Did they fly him in? I almost called him by my pet name, but I won't do that. I'll share that with those of you who know me. Yeah, I have a pet name for Reverend Al too. Sometimes people just, and I have one for Lee Merritt. Sometimes people just, they just make me want to call them a thing like Kellyanne Conway, a Skeletor, and, Rudy Giuliani is Yuck Mouth, and, that woman that lives with little Tink Tink is the first thought. So I have names that just come to my head. I don't really think about it. It just, something moves me and then, voila, they get a name. But listen, so, I don't know what's been going on over there in Dallas with the attorney that represents the family. I don't know if he's been, talking a whole lot about it. We hear a lot when we are talking about cases that involve entities with deep pockets, right? You understand what I'm saying, right? When there's a lot of money to be had, if you will, right? I never thought there was a lot of money to be had in the Joshua Brown case for the reason that I told you. And the thing that bothered me the most about the whole situation with Joshua Brown and Lee Merritt and what he was saying, and understand, I don't have any beef with Lee Merritt. He got a job to do. I don't have a job, but I have a thing that I do. And so my only angst, if you will, is that I just didn't want any young millennial to get caught up because there was so much emotion connected with the death of Joshua Brown. And there were many, many people, and I know it was many because they were coming on my YouTube channel telling me that, it was a conspiracy and that he was assassinated and, Dallas Police Department was behind it. And, I must be one of them. I think I lost a subby or two because they were like, I liked you until now. And so I'm unsubscribing. Bye-bye. Your agreement's not required. But I know police officers do stupid stuff. And I know that, police officers lie. I'm not pretending that they don't, but I just thought it would be a whole lot of people that would have to be involved in assassinating Joshua Brown. And why? Before Amber Geiger, nobody knew the name Joshua Brown. And so now, it's come out and there's articles out there, I'll share a link or two with you that you can read. And the only reason I'm kind of really going into this is because my subby, Master Jedi, he or she sparked my competitive edge because Master Jedi came on my YouTube channel. And usually I just take BS down. But this time I thought I'll have a little fun. I'm going to educate you, Master Jedi. Um, Master Jedi said that I was wrong and uninformed, and I didn't know what I was talking about the whole Joshua Brown thing. And so I shared a few links with the Master and anybody else that wanted to take a look at it on my YouTube channel, right where he was commenting, so that you could see it, because I wanted to put an end to some of this foolishness that was going on. And listen, as I tell you this, I'm gonna read some quotes from the attorney that represents the family, because the attorney that represents the family knew all of this when there was talk about Joshua being shot in the mouth and in the chest. That was very incendiary. It was very upsetting and off-putting. It pissed a lot of people off. Can I just say that? And folks are ready to, do some damage and maybe get themselves hurt in the process, because it came from what sounded like a really credible source. And we know that a lot of it was hyperbole, because after the whole he got shot in the mouth and the chest, well, the attorney that represented that family had to come back and tweet, well, I don't really know. That's just what I heard, from the family. And so now we just going to wait for the autopsy report. Well, if there was an autopsy report released, I haven't, but I'm in California. Maybe you have in Texas. I haven't heard what the final autopsy report was on Joshua Brown. But nonetheless, the attorney for the family said this: speculation has begun to spread. It doesn't mean there's evidence of police involvement or connection to the Geiger case. Well, that's a true statement. But, that got lost in all that other talk about assassination and, they need to explain, and they, being Dallas Police Department, need to explain, and everything else that was said with regards to what happened to Joshua Brown and how it happened. And so I'm going to just share a little link with you here that speaks to what that family knew, as well as the attorney that represents the family. This is what they knew when they were talking about Joshua being shot in the mouth and in the chest, and alluding and inferring to people who don't listen, who just hear a word or two and then take off and then spread it like we will do. Y'all know, you give some sheeple some stuff and they all in your inbox telling you to make this go viral. So, it's a problem, particularly when you're kind of being intellectually dishonest. So, what I want to say is, young people, don't let somebody get you all caught up, right? Don't just take what you hear, even if you hear it from me. Don't take what I say as gospel. Do your own due diligence, do your own homework, do some research. Google is amazing. And listen, I'm not that internet savvy, because I'm not, from that generation. I didn't grow up on the internet. There was a time when, some of you guys understand what I'm talking about. You got to crack open a Britannica. What's that? Encyclopedia Britannica, right? Remember when the guys and girls, I guess, used to come through the neighborhood and sell a damn case of encyclopedias? Because my mom bought one for me. I mean, I was just a toddler. She was getting it for me later down the road, right? So we had to do research. We had to look stuff up. I didn't have a phone to just pick up and look at and just read whatever's on there and then tell everybody else to share it because it sounded good. Here's what we know about the whole Joshua Brown. He had been shot back in November of last year because he was out at a strip club. And it says in this article that I shared with you that Brown was wounded in a shooting outside of Dallas Cabaret South, a strip club off Interstate 35 that left Nicholas Shaquan Diggs dead. Now, Brown, according to this article, believed that he was the target of this November 23rd shooting at this strip club, and that Brown felt that there were still people out there who wanted to do him harm, according to the attorney for the family, Lee Merritt. His words, not mine. There was also an affidavit, a court document that said in the Dallas Morning News report that a man had waited outside for Brown, and then the two got into a fight. And this man allegedly started shooting when Brown tried to leave. And that's when Diggs was shot. Now, Diggs' brother, his name is Bruce, he said to CBS News that he too thought Brown was the intended target in that early morning when his brother was shot, and that his brother actually was trying to break the fight up that Joshua was having with this other guy, when the other guy decided to do what cowards do when they probably getting their ass handed to them, is they're done fighting and now we're shooting, right? I don't know that he was getting his ass handed to him. I'm just saying kids don't fight like they used to. Folks don't fight. They don't live to fight another day. If they come up on the short end, and that's why, like I tell my own sons, because, I have 4 boys, and, they get all caught up and testosterone starts shooting through their little bodies. And, I tell them, why would you fight anybody? Because nobody is going to let you beat them up. If I could say it like that, I was going to say it differently, but nobody's going to let you just beat them up and then just be like, oh man, you got me and leave. If they leave, they're coming back with the gun. And so Kendall Morris, he's 26 years old. He was indicted in June for the murder and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon for the fatal shooting back in November. So it's not like they didn't know who was involved in the shooting. And there were some others that were probably with Kendall who may very well still be out there. And so it's because of all of that that Joshua Brown did not want to testify at the trial of Amber Geiger, because he knew it was going to be a high profile case, and the attorney representing the family knew that as well. And Joshua had gone into hiding. He had to be subpoenaed, which means he was forced to come back to Dallas. I heard that he had just got back in Dallas the day of the trial when he testified. He had come from the airport and went right to court because he did not want to be there, but was threatened with probably jail if you don't show up for this subpoena. And that's why, if any of you remember seeing it or hearing the conspiracy theorists talk about it, the judge, when he finished testifying, said, I'm surprised he came. Not because the judge was in on the conspiracy and that Dallas was going to execute him a few days later, Dallas PD was going to execute him a few days later, but because she knew he had been subpoenaed. She knew about the back and forth between the attorney that represents the family, right? And they didn't really know if he was going to come and testify until he actually sat down in that seat. And that's why the judge said, I'm surprised that he came. Everybody knew he didn't want to be there, and everybody knew why he didn't want to be there. And so, again, these are the words of the attorney that represents the family. Brown was subpoenaed to testify in Geiger's trial, but made it clear he had no interest in testifying in open court in that trial. I think he had some apprehension about being seen as an informant or a snitch, Merritt said. His words. So again, all of that talk about, police killing him because he testified, anybody who followed the trial knows that what he said at the trial did not put Amber Geiger in prison. Amber Geiger put herself in prison. But if you don't know, and if you're a sheeple and you just listen to what people tell you, if you're like a little bird and you just open your mouth and wait for people to drop food in it, then you don't know. And so that's why I'm here, to tell you what you don't know, right? And again, I don't need you to agree with me. I'm just telling you. And if you still, are part of the conspiracy theorist family who believes that Dallas executed him, proceed, Governor. Proceed. I'm just telling you factually what the attorney that represents the family knew when he was whipping y'all up into a lather. Okay? And you understand that being perceived as an informant or a snitch for somebody like Joshua Brown would be a big deal, and why he, would not want that look, right? Would not want that jacket. Um, Merritt, according to the article that I shared with you, the link, don't take my word, read it. Merritt said Brown's mother knew her son was, quote, really bothered by the fact that he was given a lot of exposure from the trial, a lot of unwanted attention. So his mother knew. Of course she knew. Merritt said that a threatening post appeared on Brown's social media on the very day of his testimony in the Amber Geiger trial. Someone wrote on his wall, "Now we know where you are." And then they later deleted the post, Merritt said. I'm reading from the article. Now, I don't know if this is going to help you with the conspiracy theories. I'm just sharing with you what's going on. And so if you really do have an interest and a concern about Joshua Brown and what happened to him, and whether or not the people that are responsible for his death are in custody, because a lot of y'all don't think that the 3 guys that are in custody were really responsible for his death. And so the Dallas Police Department has a telephone number where you can call and report any tip that you might have anonymously. Crime Stoppers in Dallas has also put up a $5,000 reward for anyone with information leading to the arrest and indictment. So not just the arrest, but the arrest and indictment of the person that was involved in the shooting of Joshua Brown. And so that number for the Dallas Police Department is area code 214-671-3690. And then the anonymous tip hotline is area code 214-373-8477. So for those of you who, want to do something to help in the death of Joshua Brown, because the investigation is ongoing, call the anonymous tip hotline 214-373-8477. So I hope that's helpful. Oh, hey, Big Dane, what's up? I appreciate you. So listen, okay, so I had another ask, and I'm going to share this link with you as well. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this, because this was a police shooting that occurred. Hang on, just give me a second. What happened is there was an officer who responded to a hit and run. I'm going to share the link with you. I'm going to share first with you the written article about this officer involved shooting. And then I'm going to share with you a video that was put up by the district attorney. And it's about an hour long, this video that the district attorney put up. And I knew when I saw it, without even looking at it, I knew there was no way. I mean, she had a diagram, she had a damn Ouija board. She had all kind of stuff set up, and I knew that all of that was because it was going to be favorable for the officer, is what I believed. And so I'm going to share that with you as well, because listen, I want you to formulate your own opinions. I don't want you to take my word. I want you to look and see what you think. I'll tell you what I think, but that doesn't mean just because I think it that, it's right. But, I do have a basis upon which I think. And a lot of it has to do because, I wore the uniform and I did the job for 20 years. So here's the deal. There was a Knoxville police officer, and he was involved in a fatal shooting of a gentleman by the name of Tom Pheap. The officer's name is Dylan Williams. And so here's what happened. There was a hit and run, and I don't know if there were any injuries in the hit and run traffic accident or not. Because if there are injuries in the hit and run traffic accident, then it's a felony. And the injury could be something as simple as a person saying, my neck is hurting or my back is hurting. Any injury makes it a felony. So this guy gets involved in a hit and run, and he takes off. And then there's a citizen who sees it. And so the citizen follows and reports to 911, I'm following this hit and run, and he gives a plate number. Police somehow do a follow-up to the place where this vehicle is registered. Now, it sounds to me like there may have been some time in between when the officer actually showed up at the residence where this vehicle was registered and when the actual accident happened, because when you listen to the 911 call, you'll hear the witness give the information and then they get off the phone with 911. So it's not like they continue to follow him. As a matter of fact, the 911 dispatcher said, yeah, we don't really want you to follow him. We're good. Back off. Because they don't want citizens getting involved and getting hurt. And the guy did. So the officer, I believe, because they had the vehicle license plate number, they were able to get the address of the registered owner. So you see this lone officer go to the place where the vehicle is registered, and guess what? The car is there. The car matching the description is there, parked. He goes to the apartment, the unit where he thinks the person may be. He's alone. He's a one-man unit. We call them L cars. And he contacts somebody inside the residence, and they say, it sounds like, or they direct him to the side of the building saying, you know, maybe the driver of the car is, you know, over there. So he goes over there. Now, I never really heard the officer explain to the person when he went to the door why he was there asking for this person, but they directed him to a place where he could find him. And anyway, he goes over there and then all hell breaks loose. They get into a big old fight. And the next thing you know, you can hear them, you know, rolling around like damn tumbleweed. And then you hear the officer say, I'm going to tase you. I'm going to tase you. Stop it, stop it. And then he shoots and he kills this guy. Tom Pheap shoots and kills him. This was back in August of this year. And the DA went to great lengths to finally say at the end of this hour-long video that I shared with you that the homicide was justified, because, you know, homicide just means the taking of a life by another. But in this instance, the homicide was justified. And so for the person that asked me, you know, what are my thoughts are this. Oftentimes, what I see as a supervisor, having reviewed uses of force, having had to make a determination about whether or not an officer violated policy or not, I see someone who probably tactically could have handled the situation a little bit differently, because remember when I started talking to you, I said that it seemed like some time had passed from the time of the incident to the time where the car had been located. And so this officer is by himself. And what's the urgency? The car is there. The person inside the residence told you that the driver is around the corner. You know, I don't know if, you know, he was around there making lemonade. I don't know what the hell he was doing outside around the corner. You can't see him, but nonetheless, he was there. So how about you get on the radio, officer, because you know you got a hit and run. You know he's a runner. You know he's not just going to say, oh, my bad. I know I ran from that traffic collision, but now I'm going to just go ahead, turn around and let you take me into custody. Come on. If sense were common, everybody would have it, right? So clearly we're working at a deficit. So this officer goes around the corner. Now you can see this from the position of his camera on his vehicle because of the way he parked it, until he walks out of view. And then, like I said, they get into a fight, and then he gets into an officer-involved shooting. So at the moment that he got into the officer-involved shooting, what you hear him say is, he tased me after the fact, because there's some witnesses that are coming out now. They hear the pop, they come out, and he's like, did you see it, ma'am? Did you see it, ma'am? Did you see it? And he's trying to get witnesses, and he's saying, if you saw it, I need you to, you know, stay here. Don't go away. And he says, you know, he tased me. Now, listen, Again, I'm not naive, and I know that officers will lie. I know that officers will say things because they're creating an audio record, right? Um, I guess, and I don't have all of the information, but I guess it would be easy enough to prove whether or not the suspect, Mr. Pheap, in this case, had actually gotten the taser in his hand and had discharged cartridges. Generally, a taser has, I think, like 2 cartridges, and then you got to reload it. It's been a while since I've been around a taser, but when you discharge a taser, there's evidence that it's been discharged. There's little confetti that's significant and unique to that particular taser. It has identifying numbers in the little projectiles and little confetti ball drops that come out. So there would be a way for them to know whether or not the taser discharged. Now, what they may not know, unless they are able to get this guy's DNA off the taser, is did the guy, Mr. Pheap, have the taser in his hand? Or did the officer discharge it? Because I'm thinking, and I don't know, but I'm just saying because you asked me, if the officer had actually been tased, he'd have been in a bad way. And yeah, I don't know if you could actually recover that quickly. I don't know. I've never been tased. I'm not saying that the officer didn't get tased. The guy may have discharged the taser and it didn't connect, because that could happen too. And so what the officer said is that, he thought he was going to lose his life and he was not going to allow this guy to incapacitate him. And so I get that. I understand why the officer would not want to be incapacitated, because if he gets hit with a dart for real, it's a wrap. If you fighting with somebody and they tase you, yeah, then you wake up and your butt's wet and you don't know why. Don't judge me. I'm just saying bad things would happen. And that's what the officer said. The officer said he thought he was going to lose his life. And so he fired to make sure that the suspect, Mr. Pheap, did not incapacitate him and then eventually get control of his gun and maybe kill him. That makes sense. That makes sense. And so for that reason, the DA said that the shooting was justified. And hey, Bishop McCory, I'm happy to see you here as well, sir. I appreciate you. And so that's why the shooting, was justified. Now, what I say is that, I don't think that the tactics that led up to the shooting, were proper. And so they may very well, the officer is not going to be charged with anything. They may decide that this is a training issue, and they may provide him with some additional training in terms of what to do the next time you encounter a potential suspect. Maybe you might want to, request backup and make sure that you have sufficient resources with you so that you don't wind up in a situation where you're now fighting somebody and you're all by yourself. So that's what I think. Bad tactics can lead to unnecessary uses of deadly force. And then on to Florida, because, I told you every week something's going on in Florida. There's a school resource officer over there who has now been charged with felony child abuse. His name is Willard Miller. Now, Willard is a Black man. And I just share that with you because, it's my good buddy, Sheriff Gregory Toney over there on the Broward County Sheriff's Department. I believe it's Broward County, that charged this deputy. And so, I'm just wondering if he was just, so eager to do that because, Willard is a Black man, and we all understand, Black officers can't do what white officers do. You would think that Willard might know that if he had read any of the pages from the book of Muhammad Noor, right? Now, I'm not saying that what Willard Miller did wasn't totally inappropriate. I'm just saying it didn't seem to take Sheriff Toney very long to get in his ass. Unlike, what Sheriff Toney did when those white boys was slamming that 15-year-old kid's head in the concrete outside of a fast food restaurant. I'm just saying, there are certainly plenty of examples, Muhammad Noor being one, of what happens when you try to do what white boys do. if you're a police officer, which makes me think of a situation that happened here on the LAPD involving Charlie Beck. And the only reason I even kind of am mentioning Charlie Beck is because if y'all don't know, he's dreaming of a job over in Chicago. You know, I told you last week or a couple of podcasts ago that Superintendent Eddie Johnson, you know, he got a bad batch of greens and his blood pressure shot up and he had to pull over on the side of the road early in the morning because he got tired. And then they gave him a ride home. Yeah, I think commissioner or superintendent, if that's what they call him, Eddie Johnson, was drunk on his ass. He fell asleep. He got the homie hookup. And so now, guess what? He's about to resign. He's going to retire. Take that back. Not resign. He's going to retire. Timing, right? So now Charlie Beck, because, you know, these guys are so ego-driven, so drunk with power, you would think he'd just go sit his ass down and spend a little time with Mrs. Beck. But no, he wants to go to Chicago and be the police chief. And so the mayor over there is thinking about it. She's thinking about making Charlie Beck the interim once drunk boy retires. And I say that in conjunction with this police shooting, because when Charlie Beck was here, there was a Black police officer. Again, I'm not saying that the officer didn't deserve to be dealt with, but he was a Black police officer. His name was Clifford Proctor, and he shot and killed a homeless gentleman by the name of Brendan Glenn. I give you these names so you can look it up, people. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. Brendan, Brendon Glenn, was a homeless gentleman down on Venice Beach, and he wound up being shot and killed by Clifford Proctor, a Black man. And this was the first time in the history of ever that LAPD police chief Charlie Beck, but any LAPD police chief, but Charlie Beck particularly, contacted DA Jackie Lacey and said, look here, sister girl, I need you to go ahead and file criminal charges on this one. Never happened before and probably will never happen again unless you look like me or Proctor or Mohammed Noor. Yeah, you might not want to be committing misconduct because they'll make an example of you. They don't have a problem, you know, sacrificing you. And so even with all of that, when Charlie Beck told DA Jackie Lacey, I need you to go ahead and press charges and file criminal charges against Clifford Proctor. Luckily for Clifford, Jackie Lacey has no appetite for pressing charges, prosecuting police officers, no matter the color. And so he skated. That happened back in 2016. Yeah. So Jackie said, "No, I'm good. I'm not gonna file any charges." So again, LA family, March 2020, Jackie Lacey is up for re-election. If you guys, you know, y'all allow that to happen, you have no one to blame but yourself. I'm just saying. And so, you know, as I think about Charlie Beck making, you know, offering up Proctor, I think, you know, I wonder out loud to you if that's what Sheriff Gregory Tony did with this officer, this deputy, Willard Miller. Again, the video is out there. You can certainly take a look at it and see what he did with this 15-year-old girl. He had no business grabbing her and throwing her to the ground like he did at school. This happened back on September the 25th, and the video shows the action. You can't hear, so you don't know what provoked him, but whatever it was a 15-year-old girl, and he shouldn't have done that. I just wish that, you know, Sheriff Gregory Tony would be consistent in his discipline and as swift in discipline when it comes to folks who, you know, don't look like me and don't look like him. I'm just saying. And then for those of you who may not know, over in DeKalb County, the police officer, Robert Chip Olson, who I mentioned to you before, had been convicted in the fatal shooting of a Air Force veteran, Anthony Hill. Well, he was sentenced to 20 years, but they say he'll only really do 12 because he'll spend the rest of it on probation. And again, I mention that because, you know, Robert Chip Olson shot and killed a man, a human being, and, you know, got 20 years, will do 12, and then contrast that with a a young black man by the name of Kalantre Bearfield, who's 22 years old. And listen, he was involved in some foolishness, be clear, but he shot and killed a dog. I mean, it wasn't just a regular dog, it was a canine police dog. And he was given 45 years. So that was in Canton, Ohio. So, shoot a black man, go to jail for a minute, shoot a dog, and it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Now, Bearfield's prison sentence sparked a lot of controversy over there, and folks were stomping around town and all of that. And you know what happened 45 minutes later? 48 hours later, people had kind of lost interest and changed channels. So, that's what we do. That's what we do. So, anyway. Then Popeyes is back with the chicken sandwich, you guys. And I don't know if you've heard this. I think we've lost our damn minds. So maybe this might be a good time to send you over to my Sergeant Dorsey Speaks Cash app and treat me like you do one of them chicken sandwiches. Now, I don't want you to kill me because I'm about to tell you that somebody lost their life over in Maryland over a damn chicken sandwich. But yeah, you could just go ahead and, get in my Cash app and, leave me a chicken sandwich. How about that? 28-year-old man in Maryland was stabbed in the midst of a fight over at Popeyes, Oxon Hill, Maryland, is reported. And it wasn't so much that they were fighting over the damn sandwich. It was because the guy, disrespected somebody else in line. You know how these kids are about, somebody disrespected him. He tried to, get buttsies in line. And he lost his life behind a damn chicken sandwich at 28. So family, come on. We need to do better. If you know better, you do better. And you guys know better. I had put up a post on Facebook, and all I said was sometimes you got to give the people what they want. And I was being silly, and I didn't really explain, why I said that. Some of you were opining about what you thought I meant. And so what I was referring to is this, because somebody had shared this with me, and some of you probably have seen it. Happened a few days ago, but there was a black police officer over in Bossier City, Louisiana, and he responded to some kind of a disturbance call in I think it was a La Quinta Inn, and it was a white woman, and she was just acting a damn fool. She was in there with scissors in her hand, and she was really creating a problem. Thus, somebody called. So Officer Patrick Edmonds Jr. shows up at this La Quinta Inn, and there's this 45-year-old white female, Shannon Rupert is her name. And, sometimes you just got to give people what they want. So, Shannon Rupert asked Officer Patrick Edmonds Jr. to shoot her. Now, she didn't say it like that. She, called him the N-word 600,000 or 700,000 times. And then she advanced on him with these scissors. He asked her to put them down. He backed up a little bit as she kept coming. And so sometimes you got to give the people what they want. Now, her family is saying that 45-year-old Shannon Rupert struggled with drug addiction, and she had some issues. And, they wondered why the officer, what they wondered, why didn't he just shoot her in the hand, right? Why didn't he just shoot her in the hand? He didn't have to, he could have tased her. He could have hit her over the head with a billy club. It was all kind of stuff he could have done as she was advancing on him with these scissors. And if you look at the video, and I'll share it with you so you can look at the video, you can see that when he dropped her, she was within close proximity because, what I know, and folks who, have done the job like I've done the job know that people can close space between you fairly quickly. And you'll see at the moment that she drops, she was very close to him. And so you can do a lot of damage with a pair of scissors. I don't fault the officer for making sure he went home that night. And, my question to the family of Shannon Rupert is, why didn't she just comply? Comply and complain. That's what I say. in Richmond, California, there was a community review commission recently that found an officer by the name of Wallace Jensen was actually responsible for the death in 2014 of Richard P.D. Perez. Now, Officer Jensen, according to this commission who's taken a look at this deadly use of force, they said Officer Jensen initiated the violence. In other words, the tactics, right? Whatever it was that led up to that fatal incident happened because of Officer Jensen. And so I don't know what that means for the family going forward. But what I'm hearing as I decipher he initiated the violence is that the officer created an opportunity, right? He put himself in a position to use deadly force. Reminds me of Officer Michael Brelow in Cleveland, Ohio, some years ago. Remember Brelow jumps on the hood of the car? This couple, I'll tell you their name in a minute. They had been involved in a pursuit. Timothy Russell and Melissa Williams had been involved in a pursuit. It was a whole bunch of cars and it lasted for miles and miles. And I think the car backfired or something, or either it was contagious gunfire. And once Brelow started shooting, everybody started shooting. But Brelow particularly jumped up on the hood of the car and fired off about 45 rounds into the into the windshield of the car. And so, he kind of created a situation to use deadly force when he jumped on the hood of the car. But Brelow lives to offend again. They fired him, but he didn't go to jail because he had a bench trial, which meant his trial was decided by a judge, not a jury. And the judge agreed that while, these people necessarily should not have been shot as many times as they were, the judge could not determine which of the 137 bullets that were fired at them actually killed them, and if any of those belonged to Brelow, allegedly. That's what the judge said. So, officers sometimes put themselves in a position to use deadly force. Again, like the deputies on the LA County Sheriff's Department a few months ago who did that very same thing with a young man who was believed to have been involved in some kind of a maybe gun situation. Ryan Twyman, remember 24-year-old Ryan Twyman? Deputies fired 34 rounds because, they said they thought he was trying to run them over. They put themselves in a position to say that because one of them opened up the back door of Ryan's car. And then when Ryan put the car in reverse, not trying to run anybody over, probably, we don't know because he's not here, but he put the car in reverse, probably just trying to get away, because that's what bad guys do. They really just want to get away. And they shot him 34 times, created an opportunity in my mind. So now that they've decided that this officer not only created the opportunity up in Richmond, but that he lied and his version of the events in that shooting didn't really jive with what their investigation uncovered. So don't know what that means. Don't know. I think the family may have already settled financially, civilly, but I guess this just kind of closes that chapter. So, and then let's see. Okay, over in Georgia, DeKalb County Sheriff's officers and DeKalb County Sheriff and police. They were involved in a situation, two different agencies, two different officers, but both of them were involved in a situation where they choked a gentleman. Now, this person, I don't think died, but there is something going on. The young man's name is Alante McDowell. He's 25 years old. There's video. And right now, the DeKalb County State Attorney is taking a look at this investigation that occurred back on August the 24th. And this occurred outside of Lincoln Towers at South Annie Glidden Road and West Lincoln Highway. Family's not happy. said that this young man had a certain amount of cannabis on him and felony amount of cannabis. And I guess that's maybe what they were going to arrest him for. I'm not really sure, but it's illegal in Illinois to use a chokehold. And while the investigation is ongoing, the officers involved have been reassigned. So don't think this young man died. I think it's just a matter of them, the family being upset that he was choked and tasered in a way that was excessive. So investigation is ongoing. And then, oof, you guys still with me? It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. In Alabama, there was a community meeting regarding a fatal shooting of a young man by the name of Dana Fletcher, 39 years old. And again, the family is most unhappy because, well, the authorities over there, 2 officials attended this community meeting, and listen, they were not playing with this community. And so again, voting and not voting has consequences. The district attorney pretty much said that you guys not gonna like, what's going on. I don't care if you like what's going on. We're taking a look at this. We're not sharing any information with you right now because the community is like, what are you hiding? We want to see the video. We want to know why this young man was shot and killed. And so the district attorney over there said, look at here. If you don't like what I'm doing, then vote me out. And then somebody had said, some audience yelled, we will. So, I don't know if they're doing anything untoward and that's why they're not sharing the information, or if they're just not sharing the information because they're waiting to take it to a grand jury. That's kind of what the district attorney inferred, that they have access to a grand jury. The community does not. And he says, if y'all think that any part of what we factor in this has to do with race of the individual, then you need to vote him out. And so I think, Madison County District Attorney Robert Broussard is the one that was, really most digging in, if you will, with regards to what he was going to share with the community and what he wasn't going to share. And so listen, this is Alabama's an open carry state. And so I said this once before, and folks got all hot and bothered, my subbies. They got all hot and bothered because they thought I was saying black men shouldn't, arm themselves. Listen, carry a gun if you want to. Carry a gun if you want to. You just run the risk of, even though it's open carry, we know what happened to Philando Castile, and now we know what happened to 39-year-old Dana Fletcher. They said they found a gun. His wife said he didn't have a gun. I don't know if he did or not, but it's an open carry state, and so he may very well have had it, and he may have had it legitimately, but he's dead. So just something to consider. Something to consider. So, wow, that's it, you guys. We made it to the end, and that's all I got. That's all I got. Let me just look real quick here and see if I can scroll down, if my computer will allow me. If my computer will allow me to. Okay, Kevin, I see you. Okay, so yeah, so that's it. So thank you, family, for hey, cousin Robert, thank you for hanging out with me. I know I went a little long today, but I had a lot of stuff. It's kind of like feast or famine. There's some weeks when I'm really stretching and just trying to figure out what the heck am I going to share with you? What do you need to know? What's going on this week? But today wasn't that kind of situation. It was a lot going on. And so, there was more that I could have shared with you, but I'm going to save some of that because I got a podcast I got to record this weekend for next week. So I'll save a little bit for that. If there's anything that I said tonight that you, have a question about, or you're not clear on, or you want to talk about, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks at Gmail, hit me up, get in my inbox, subbies, comment. You know what to do, and we can talk a little further there. So that's it, family. Till next week, be good, be safe. Take good care.